I am Juan Garcia Yervides. I am the president of the United Government of Graduate Students. I am also a graduate student candidate, a PhD candidate here in CU Boulder in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese. I want to welcome everybody here to the Chancellor's State of the Campus. And let me start by saying how this is going to work. The Chancellor will give an address after and then sit down with Staff Council Co-Chair John Kelly to answer some questions that have been submitted in advance. And you still have the opportunity to submit some questions. If you have questions, please fill out the index cards, raise your hand, and the ushers will come around and retrieve your cards at the end of the Chancellor's speech. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our Chancellor, Philip DiStefano. Dr. DiStefano came to CU in the fall of 1974 as an assistant professor of curriculum and instruction in the School of Education. He has served this campus as professor, dean, vice chancellor, and provost. He was appointed chancellor in 2009. An educator all his life, he believes in putting students first. Now, please welcome Chancellor Phil DiStefano.
Thank you and good morning. There are still chairs up in front if you would like to come up and grab a chair. There are plenty on my right and in front here. So, thank you for coming today. And I want to begin because it's always my pleasure to recognize my wife, Yvonne, who's here. Yvonne, thank you for being here. Also, thanks to the deans and my cabinet members who are here today. And if you would all stand, please, deans and cabinet members. So I'm pleased to be starting my 44th year on campus. But we have at least one notable member of our campus who exceeds me in seniority, and that's our mascot, Ralphie. Although she has a distinct advantage over me with 5 incarnations. So this year, we are celebrating 50 years of the Ralphie tradition. And it's been a lot of fun. And I want to thanks to athletics, Rick George, the Heritage Center, the Alumni Association, and their Colorado magazine for so colorfully telling the story of Ralphie. And if you haven't seen this month's edition, you should check it out. It's terrific. You know, it's during this time of the year with our 50th reunion class, the class of 1967, returning to campus for homecoming, that I find myself looking back over the years. Yet just last month, I was looking to the future with our new incoming class, the class of 2021. And it's during these contrasting moments that I realize that our great university has a history and a great future. How much we have changed is nothing short of amazing. How we will continue to change as a campus to meet our vision is inspiring. We have extraordinary faculty and staff who work every day to benefit our students and society. And today, I will speak about the progress on our strategic plan to align the campus around common values and goals. This plan will enable us to meet the rapid pace of change in our society, anticipating what is next and excelling as one of the leading public universities of the future. But first, I want to take a moment to celebrate just a few of our many successes across our campus. Our faculty and research staff achieved the highest level of research funding in the history of the campus, $508 million. And that represents a 16% increase in funding over the previous year. Surpassing $500 million in research funding reflects a growing focus on innovation and collaboration across the campus. And this is made possible through the excellence and scientific merit of the proposals for grants made by our faculty and the great support they receive from the administrative units. But this is not just about dollars and winning grants. It's about the positive impact of this research on humanity. And here are just a few examples. We received a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for just over $1 million to develop vaccines that require no refrigeration. These vaccines will defend against infectious diseases with just one shot. And this could radically transform life-saving immunizations in developing countries. Researchers in mechanical engineering are working to develop a so-called third lung that could be used for severely injured patients to keep them alive until they arrive at a hospital. Now that's impact. And the Center for the Study and Prevention of Violence received nearly $6 million from the federal government to expand its work in Denver neighborhoods. And this is creating opportunities that empower communities to curb violence among 10 to 24-year-olds. These are not the only areas in which we are having an impact. In the arts and humanities, we continue to dynamically benefit our community through the creation and presentation of artworks, plays, music, films, dance, design, and lectures. They are potent teachers of different cultures, perspectives, historical interpretations, and philosophical discourse. More than 300,000 people visit this campus every year to engage with us. And I could spend hours on this topic, but you can clearly see that our faculty and researchers, with the support of our amazing staff, are having a dramatic effect impacting humanity locally and around the globe. Continue to thrive as an R1 top research university so that we can deliver these positive impacts and provide unique research experiences for our undergraduate and our graduate students. We continue to have one of the highest participation rates of undergraduates conducting research and creative work, exceeding 2,000 students every year. And we're not stopping there. We feel exposure of undergraduates to research is fundamental to our mission. Our long-term goal is to have half of our undergraduates involved in research. As we can attest, it takes more than tuition and research dollars to fund this university. Donor gifts and a passion for education started CU 141 years ago. That was in 1876, 5 months before Colorado became a state. Our dynamic advancement team led us to more than $140 million in private donations last year. Our generous donors are as passionate as we are about developing tomorrow's leaders, being leaders of innovation and impacting humanity. This generosity touched every college and many areas of research, as well as benefiting our students directly through scholarships and supportive student services. These donations ranged from $15 million given to aerospace engineering sciences to further the position the university at the center of the state's aerospace innovation ecosystem, to a $50 donation to the Alumni Scholarship Fund buying a CU Boulder license plate. Every donation makes a difference. To continue to bring in research dollars and donations, we must fulfill our basic mission of educating students. We continue to reach new levels of student recruitment and retention. Your hard work to retain our continuing students is showing success. Retention between the first and second year has improved to 87.5% this fall. after a number of years of being stuck at 84%. Something is happening here after many years of no movement in our retention numbers, and it's a direct result of your efforts. Give yourself a round of applause. This fall, we were pleased to welcome the most diverse and one of the best academically prepared freshman classes in our history. This exceptional class was drawn from another record year of applications, confirming that CU Boulder is a university of choice for high-achieving students from Colorado, the nation, and across the globe. We also achieved a higher level of transfer students from schools around the nation and from local community colleges. Overall, we strive to build a campus characterized by diversity in all forms, which gives us the opportunity to learn from many perspectives, cultures, and backgrounds. I would be remiss if I did not call out the success we are having in graduate student recruitment. Unlike many of our peers, our graduate enrollment has gone up, and our graduate students are key to the success of our campus as they are engaged in teaching and research throughout the colleges. Last year at this time, I announced our strategic plan with its imperatives of creating tomorrow's leaders, leading innovation, and positively impacting humanity. All of these must be grounded in a common and strongly held set of values. These values were clearly defined for us by our students as the Colorado Creed, and they are: act with honor, integrity, and accountability in all interactions with students, faculty, staff, and neighbors. Respect the rights of others and accept our differences, and contribute to the greater good of this community. Given events around the country this past year, the Colorado Creed takes on more importance than ever. Honesty, respecting others, and being accountable. It is my expectation that every member of the CU Boulder family of students, staff, and faculty, as one university, will actively proclaim these values and demonstrate them in our actions every day. If we do this, we will be a place where the open and candid exchange of all ideas and perspectives can occur. We often have the opportunity to host events and speakers, and we support free speech. We believe everyone should be allowed to express their beliefs, even when we strongly disagree with them. It's part of what we do every day. Encourage open and civil debate. What we can and should do is clearly proclaim our values, whether they do or do not align with those speakers. And I am proud that our faculty and students created the Buffs United group and held an event last spring to demonstrate our values. To continue in the tradition of open civil debate, this fall, our history faculty is hosting a series of educational forums on Charlottesville in historical perspective, which provides historical context of slavery within our country. The Center for Western Thought and Policy, student groups, the Leo Hill Leadership Series, and others are bringing a number of speakers to campus this year. Those will run the gamut on political and philosophical perspectives, and I encourage you to engage and demonstrate our values of respect and civil debate. Let me be clear. We do not support discrimination in any form. We abhor hateful acts and philosophies, and we strive to clearly demonstrate our values. CU Boulder's identity is defined by respect for diversity and achieving the highest levels of excellence through intentional inclusivity. These convictions are at the heart of any decision we make as we pursue our goals and interact with one another daily. There is no denying we live in tumultuous and increasingly volatile times. It is clearly a time in which we each individually and as an institution need to take a stand for our values. I ask you to join me in remaining committed to improving our campus climate and to ensuring every member of our community feels safe, welcome, and respected. One of the challenges facing all higher education institutions is how we can best support our dreamers, undocumented students who were brought to the United States as children, graduated from American high schools, and are now pursuing their academic dreams. Many dreamers will be the first in their families to graduate from college. And this week has been designated Protect Dreamers Higher Education Week to help dreamers on their journey to a better life in the only country they have known since childhood. This week, President Benson and I are signing a letter of support sponsored by the Protect Dreamers Higher Education Coalition. The coalition, led by more than a dozen higher ed associations, will work to ensure Congress acts as quickly as possible on bipartisan legislation to protect the dreamers. So watch for Protect Dreamers hashtag on social media. Now, let me remind you of our vision under our strategic plan. It is, CU Boulder will be a leader in addressing the humanitarian, social, and technological challenges of the 21st century. Let's talk for a minute about our 3 strategic imperatives that will help us achieve that vision and where we are in advancing them. Those imperatives are: shape tomorrow's leaders, be the top university for innovation, and positively impact humanity. We've been working across the campus on a number of initiatives and programs that have advanced these strategic imperatives, and many of you have been involved with those. Many campus units have completed or are working on strategic plans and have developed visions that align to the campus. The deans, vice chancellors, our athletic director are continuing to meet to determine how we will collectively achieve these strategic imperatives at the campus level. In September, Provost Russ Moore and Senior Vice Chancellor and CFO Kelly Fox complemented the campus-wide work on the imperatives with the initiative called Academic Futures. Through this initiative, we are asking faculty, staff, and students to fully engage in developing unfettered visions, aspirations, and ideals for what our university should be. We have had a number of town halls to engage the campus community in discussions, and more are scheduled. I encourage you to attend those and contribute to the ideas that will shape our future. CU Boulder's core mission is to educate students and engage in cutting-edge scholarship and creative work, research, and discovery. But how will our students learn 5, 10, or 20 years from now? How will we teach them? And how will we discover new knowledge? We want to draw on the experiences of all of you, faculty, staff, and students, in creating a future academic vision for our university. In the first phase, We are talking about what we want to do, not how we do it. We want to think about it independent of constraints. In the second phase, we will decide what we can do within our limits. Academic Futures commits to integrating and drawing from other initiatives so that together they can form a coherent whole, reinforcing how we teach and conduct research in ways that are highly responsive to our students and the world into which they enter. There are several of these underlying initiatives which you will hear more about this semester and be invited to engage in. They range from working to be more strategic in our budgeting to creating a meaningful first-year experience for all of our students. The deans have been and will be meeting with faculty and staff in the schools to further develop specific initiatives in their colleges that will support the imperatives and our progress. It is important that we align our unit initiatives to support those at the campus level, and ultimately our strategic imperatives will unite the campus around a common focus. Who we are as a campus is a function of how we teach our students to lead, innovate, and positively impact humanity. Today, we are taking action to further our imperatives and benefit our students. I think we would all agree, and our Board of Regents have made clear, that we must enable our students to succeed while making our university more affordable to people from all walks of life. This is a complicated place, and cost comes from many quarters. The primary costs for students are tuition and the related mandatory fees, such as the rec center fee, the bus and bike program, and the student health services fee. Add to that the myriad course-related fees that our students encounter across the campus, which can be as much as an additional $1,200 per semester. Cost can mount quickly and unexpectedly. CU Boulder has more than 60 course and program fees. To address these issues, reducing the cost of attendance and lowering the complexity of the charges students receive, I asked Russ Moore and Kelly Fox to determine how we can do that in a sustainable way. And many of you know that this is the second year of the CU Boulder Guarantee, which means tuition and mandatory fees for entering resident freshmen are locked for 4 years. This has only been possible with the strategic support and long-term vision of our regents. They approved a multi-year tuition plan for the campus. We have had a similar guarantee in place for non-resident students for several years. These are very popular as they allow families to plan for the cost of their students' education with certainty while placing the economic risk on the university instead of the student. When I have conversations with parents here and around the state and the country, I hear how important it is for them to be able to plan ahead. This guarantee and increased scholarships have helped us lower average student debt by 14.5% since 2014. In helping us formulate the tuition guarantee, our regents provided the campus with the benefit of planning over multiple years. At the time the guarantee was developed, our regents approved a 4-year tuition plan that is crucial to our ability to forecast our long-term finances, find ways to reduce the cost of education, and increase our transparency to students. They have provided invaluable peace of mind to our students and families. And I want to recognize one of our former regents, Steve Bosley, who was instrumental in working on this plan. Let's give Steve and the rest of the board a round of applause. Today, I'm announcing another major step in reducing the cost of attending CU Boulder, the Be Boulder Pact. And it is our commitment to our students and their families to further lower cost and increase accessibility to an education at CU Boulder. These are the components of the Be Boulder Pact. Number one, in the fall of 2018, we will lower the cost to students by eliminating all course-related and program fees. So what does that mean? It means that all students will see those fees eliminated, whether it's an art, a science, or a business class. Students will no longer pay those. For the departments that depend on these fees, the administration will continue to provide them. This money will come from increased revenue, thanks to the higher enrollment and improved retention I previously mentioned. This is complemented by the work you have been doing to improve the way we manage and operate the campus. All of this hard work is paying off, both for our students and the departments. By eliminating course-related and program fees across the campus at one time, we will save our students $8.4 million each year. We will eliminate unnecessary overhead in administrative units and still support the academic units. This will help us retain and attract students by lowering costs and simplifying bills for tuition and fees. This elimination of course-related and program fees increases the transparency to students and their families about the cost of tuition and fees, and it demonstrates our commitment to the success of our students. We want our students to get a degree in a timely manner at the lowest cost possible for themselves and for their families. And our collective purpose is to take this burden off students. Number two, we will increase access to CU Boulder by fully funding our pilot CU Boulder Impact Scholarship Program. This scholarship is a result of an innovation proposal by the financial aid and admissions team. It looks beyond traditional measures of accomplishments, evaluating the academic success as well as the persistence of a student based on their socioeconomic circumstances. 90% of the pilot round of these scholarships awarded this fall went to first-generation students. And this year's contingent of students represents a $185,000 commitment to funding by the university. This will now be a permanent scholarship program. And number three, we are committing to partner with our student government, who are leaders who are working with the department, Colorado Department of Higher Education, to bring open educational resources, or OER, to our students. The goal is to provide openly licensed teaching materials shared in an electronic format to students at an extremely discounted rate, potentially saving them hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per semester. And we are committing to being the state's leader, I should say, in moving to online textbooks. The Boulder campus is offering to invest up to $1 million to pilot this program on campus, and we hope to partner with the state in this effort. The goal is to ultimately benefit all of Colorado's higher education institutions. I would say that this is a great day for our students, and it's a great day for our university in demonstrating value to our students and what our collaborative work can do. In short, lower fees, increased scholarships, and start the process to reduce the cost of textbooks and teaching materials. I should note that the governor's office and the legislature work hard to continue to fund higher education across the state under really tough constraints in our state's constitutions. We certainly appreciate that, and we will continue to work with them to enable us to offer an affordable, high-quality education. A recent increase in state funding has made it possible to begin to address our deferred maintenance backlog and bring more technology to the classroom. We continue to need the state's support to address these critical items. And again, I want to thank our regions who have been steadfast in encouraging us to find innovative ways to lower the cost of education. The heart of my message today is this: we must be focused on our students at the center of everything we do and every action we take. The hard work we are doing is paying off. Our major metrics are moving. Our retention is significantly up. Our donations are up. Our research dollars are up. The quality and diversity of our students is up. The work you are doing is carrying us forward. We are facing a multitude of changes in the world. How we respond and adapt so that CU Boulder will be a leader in addressing the humanitarian, social, and technological challenges of the 21st century is our challenge. We must anticipate the future so that we create an institution that quickly adapts to meet the needs of the world as it changes. There is no doubt that collaboration and discovering new ways of thinking is hard. The deans, the vice chancellors, and I have been having exciting conversations about how to extend the strategic imperatives throughout the campus in a tangible way. This can be challenging, but it's critical to our future success. How do we innovate in teaching and discovery? How can we approach our budget so we thrive in the future and yet reduce the cost to our students? How can we use technology most effectively for our students, research, and enterprise? There's a lot to do. If we stay focused on our common objectives, we will succeed and be stronger. It's going to take all of us collectively to achieve our strategic imperatives. The initiatives we have discussed are the pathways to achieving our imperatives, and I urge you to actively join in. Let your voice be heard and be open to change and input from others around you. Everyone has value in this process as we educate tomorrow's leaders, innovate, and impact humanity. In short, lead, innovate, and impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Now, just a quick reminder for everybody that still have cards and want to ask questions. Raise your hand and the ushers will come and pick them up. Now, I would like to introduce Staff Council Co-Chair John Kelly, who will ask the Chancellor a few questions, including questions you have submitted through the ushers. John has been Staff Council member since 2014. And he works on the campus at the National Center for Women and Information Technology to increase the meaningful participation of girls and women in computing technology. Please welcome John Kelly.
Thank you, Juan, and thank you, Chancellor, for that inspiring speech. College affordability is always an important issue to us, and Really appreciate you tackling that issue and having such a fierce commitment.
Thank you, John.
Now we have a number of questions that everyone in the campus community has already submitted online, but as Juan mentioned, please fill out that card and someone will be by to pick it up and I will ask it and you'll get to see your words come to life. To kick us off, I want to ask more about the course and program fees. What course and program fees will students still have on their tuition bills?
So our students will still have the mandatory course, or mandatory fees, not course fees, the mandatory fees. And that's, you know, the bus and bike fee, it's the health, student health services fee, it's also going to be the construction fee that we have. So those mandatory fees that are that come onto a student's bill with tuition. What we will eliminate, as I mentioned, are all the course and program fees.
Perfect. So what about residential academic program fees, or RAPs?
So residential academic RAP fees, residential academic program fees will not be eliminated because that's part of a housing fee. And so those will still stay. But I should mention on the course and program fees that, as I mentioned in my talk, it's anywhere from $1 to $1,200 a semester. So I think that'll be quite a savings for students.
What about some of those more terrifying fees, like capital construction and the rec center fee? Are those changing?
No, the capital construction fee, the rec center fee, the bus and bike fee, the student health services fee, they're all part of the mandatory fee. We've been looking at the construction fee, and certainly if we're able to lower that through our analysis, we'll come back in 2019 to talk about that.
What about for graduate students? Because obviously they fall into maybe a different category. Are their program fees changing as well? Yeah,
so graduate students will see program fees eliminated as well, and course and program fees. And you know, I know that one of the highest fees is in the area of speech and hearing language department for graduate students, which I believe is that $1,200 fee. So graduate students in that program will not see that fee.
So I guess I'm thinking with my department hat on, so how will the different colleges and departments make up that fee? How will they continue receiving that fee?
So through the provost office and also through our CFO's office, we'll work with the schools and colleges and departments and make sure at the beginning of the year that they have the same dollar amount that they would have if we charge students the program fee and course fee. So that will be in continuing funds at the beginning of the semester.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, we have a few questions also from staff, and one that we've been getting, especially from Staff Council, is about paid parental leave. Now, I'm sure as you know, staff don't receive any, they receive unpaid leave, but they don't have a paid parental leave policy. Is the campus system looking for a paid parental leave program to adopt in the future? What
we're doing is that our staff are working with the system-wide Staff Council in ways of looking at, you know, what are benefits that we could assist staff members with. And as I've talked to staff members, one of course is parental leave because our staff have to take either vacation time or sick leave, and when that runs out they're not paid. But there are other needs that staff have talked to me about, whether it's on tuition dependent, for tuition for dependent children, or other various programs. And what we want to be able to do is work with a system-wide Staff Council, and as a system, look at where we can help staff in one area or in more than one area.
That's good to hear. So more about that academic futures that you mentioned in your speech. What is about that? Is that just an elaborate plan to break up arts and sciences, or is it a, could you talk a little bit more about that?
It's always these conspiracy questions that get asked.
I've got a few.
But no, this is not about breaking up the College of Arts and Sciences or moving departments or whatever. It really is. It's academic futures. It's really looking to the futures, to the future as, you know, as I mentioned in the talk, you know, how will we teach 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? You know, right now we're in a model of, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 to 10:50 classes. Will we have those in the future, or will we have them but the pedagogy will be very different? You know, how will we look at research and discovery and creative work? I really want the faculty and staff, and especially our students, to help us think through some of these things so that as we plan for the future, we're able to meet the needs of incoming students who, 20 years from now, they're not even born today. But at one point will want to come to the University of Colorado Boulder. What type of integrative team teaching might we see in the future? And so I think this is an opportunity for faculty, staff, and students to really think outside the box, not to think in, as I said, in how we do it, but what it is that we want to do. What do we want to be in the future?
Absolutely. So moving on to South Campus, I know we've had a lot of questions about the affordable housing project that's going to be built there. Do you have any updates about that, or if there's any sort of additional plans about that development?
Sure. I mean, the South Boulder has been very, very important to the campus, and I'm very pleased with the partnership that we've had over the past year or so with the City of Boulder and also with Boulder County. There were 4 votes that needed to be approved to approve the Boulder Comprehensive Plan, and all 4 of those votes were affirmative. And we're not right now in a place where we're working with the city to continue to do some studies on the South Campus, and I think that it's studies on groundwater, for example, that will probably take us another 12 to 18 months. And then when we're finished with that, with those studies, I'm optimistic that we will get annexation to look at ways then of improving the South Campus. And one of my high priorities will be affordable housing for faculty, staff, graduate students, and also upper-level underclassmen. I'd really like to, use that space for affordable housing, which I think will cut down on the transportation issues that we have in Boulder, with so many of our students and faculty and staff coming from the east and the south and north. So that's the plan, and again, I just want to publicly thank the City of Boulder and also the County of Boulder for their work, their partnership, their collaboration with the university.
Great. So one big issue that's obviously on most universities' minds, as well as the nation, is DACA.
Yes.
And the new risk of deportation for those students and community members. What is the university going to do when that program expires in 5 months?
Right. Well, that's a good question, and it's not what are we going to do when this expires. We've already been doing things now before it expires. That's the most important thing, and we've put together a campus quick response team. It's an interdisciplinary team of faculty, staff, students that work together to look at ways of making sure that our DACA students and our DACA employees are up to date on information that we're receiving, and also to make sure that we work closely with them. For example, one of our professors in the law school, Professor Chapin, is working both with our DACA students and our DACA employees to make sure that they're signing up on time to renew their status to stay in the United States. And as I said in my speech, President Benson and I, actually along with our other chancellors, are signing the letter this week that really asks Congress to act quickly in a bipartisan way.
How about other efforts that universities have taken and our own Boulder community of declaring a sanctuary campus and protecting those students through that measure?
Yeah, as a public university, whether we're called a sanctuary city or not, we're still under state and federal policies and guidelines. What I think is the most important for us, and I talk to students about this and our staff, is to know that through FERPA, we are not going to divulge any information that we don't have to. Granted that as a state institution, we are under state and federal laws and policies, but I don't think it would matter if we were called a sanctuary city or not, because things would stay the same.
Okay. So I guess moving on to more construction, the Case Building. Can you provide an update about the Case Building? Who's getting the first run into the door?
Sure.
Do you have any plans for it? Can I get an office in there?
Actually, I was thinking of a new chancellor's office there, right up on the top floor so I can see the Flatirons every day. But you know, there are 2 phases to the case building. And again, with the support of our Board of Regents, and again, I want to thank them, we were able to get their support to complete phase 2. At one point, we were just going to do the first phase and actually move in some units pretty quickly. But the Regents, again, gave us approval to complete the second phase, which we're doing. And I would say that after commencement, we'll start to see some movement, especially our admissions office and some of our other student services. But again, it was good to wait because we could now finish both phases and not have to call the construction workers back, the contractors back. So I think we should see some movement, especially with admissions, sometime in late May or early June.
Great. I'll look forward to my office. In terms of a living wage, because I know Staff Council has been really in contact with the low-wage earners on campus, is there plans to commit to the $15 minimum wage on campus?
Right. So we have increased our minimum wage to, I believe, $12.10. And if you look at the minimum wage for the state, it's roughly a little bit over $9. So we're ahead of the state as far as setting the minimum wage. But in addition to minimum wage, we also want to provide benefits for our staff. And so we're offering, for example, free ESL classes, English as a second language classes, to some of our staff members who don't have English as their first language. We're also looking to help with subsidizing those staff who take the van pool. So I think it's a combination of benefits that we're going to be offering staff or have offered them, as well as this increase to over $12 an hour.
Does your fee elimination change how CUSG operates?
No, it does not change how, that's a good question, CUSG. It does not change how CSG operates. And as a matter of fact, as I mentioned in my talk, we've partnering with CUSG on the Open Educational Resource, OER. And I know that's one of the high priorities for our student government, and I want to partner with them to get that done. But we will see no change in how student government works.
Speaking of a safe place on campus, what are you doing to ensure our students, staff, and faculty are safe?
Well, starting with students, and I've been working closely, and all of us have been working closely with Christina Gonzalez, our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Akira, of course, our Dean of Students, our new staff member, Dion, who just joined us a few months ago, and looking at ways to make sure that all students are safe on campus. And it's something that it certainly concerns me. And as I mentioned in the speech, Buffs United was a really good way last May, April or May, when we had a controversial speaker on campus to give students an alternative venue. And I attended Buffs United and was just so pleased with the students who participated. And that's one way of keeping them safe.
A follow-up question on that is, it's been nearly a year since Brandon Simmons came on campus with a machete and went into the Champion Center. Since then, we've done active harmer situation trainings on campus, probably weekly, as well as changes to the emergency notification system. What about retraining for CE Boulder Police Department for maybe not use lethal force?
Well, I think what we're looking at as a committee, the whole committee and I believe we have a meeting coming up very soon, within the next week or two, of looking at the changes that we have made, and especially making sure that all of our students, staff, and faculty participate in our rave alert. And what we've done since October 5th, and now what do we need to do? And that's going to be the topic of conversation when our emergency management group meets. And so we don't have a specific recommendation today for the future, but it's one that we'll be making recommendations in the very near future.
That's good to hear. In order to eliminate fees, you mentioned reducing unnecessary administrative overhead. Does that mean that staff will lose their jobs?
No, no.
good.
And staff are extremely, as I've said, staff are extremely valuable to the success of this campus. And as John, as I've talked to you and staff council this last year or so of, we need to do more to work with our staff to make this university a university of choice. I think the idea of when we become more efficient, we're able to do other things. We're able to do other things that will benefit the campus. One of the things that I talked to our staff about just yesterday, a staff group, was how they could work with us on making sure our retention numbers keep going up. Staff play an extremely important role. If we could eliminate some of the inefficiencies that they may be doing, then they might have more time to work with the campus on making sure that we achieve those imperatives. So it's not about eliminating staff through by doing efficiencies. It's efficiencies, saving money, which we've done in the past, especially with the Office of Contracts and Grants and how we've been a paperless office there. That saved quite a bit of money. We didn't lose any staff. It's more efficient, and they're able to deliver more to the faculty, and that's why we've seen an uptick in our grants.
This question comes from our streaming audience, so shout out to Facebook. Will international students still have to pay the international student fee?
Yes, the international students will still have to pay the international fee. That's really not a course or program fee. However, any course or program fee that they've had in the past will be eliminated.
This one also comes from Facebook from Don Rice about the incoming, about whether if they did the course fees affect incoming students, but those already attending.
No, so it starts in the fall of 2018. We need time. This is roughly an $8.5 million reduction in course and program fees for our students. So we have to work closely with the schools and colleges, the deans, and we will initiate that in the fall of 2018.
How can we do better as a campus and a community in supporting survivors of sexual assault and harassment, especially given the #MeToo campaign on social media currently?
Well, and I think that, we have some wonderful offices on campus. Our Office of Victims Assistance does a terrific job. Obviously, OIEC, the BIT team. We have a number of resources, and our goal is to make sure that our students and our faculty and staff are aware of the many resources that we have on the campus and utilize those resources. That's been difficult in the past. We have to do a better job through our websites, through orientation, through different ways of speaking with faculty, staff, and students to really focus on the resources that we have. I really applaud the staff members who are part of those groups, like Victims Assistance, the BIT team, and so on, because they are the group that can work most effectively with our students, staff, and faculty.
What direction is the campus taking on ethics compliance?
I'm sorry,
What direction is the campus taking on ethics compliance?
Oh, ethics compliance. And my chief of staff is also the director of compliance and ethics. And we had a report this past spring that Catherine Shabe worked with a group of faculty and staff, and they put together a report on compliance and ethics. And we accepted that report. And it's now going out to various members of the steering committee on compliance and ethics, and it'll be going out more to the campus as well. There were some great recommendations made by this ad hoc committee that looked at ethics and compliance. So stay tuned. I think you'll hear more about this.
Good to hear. Our growth as a 2-to-1 university and the related economic activity is remarkable. It's good. But it seems to be out of step with the city of Boulder. What are we doing to bring our mission in harmony with the city's vision?
Well, I actually think we have, in all my years, in the 44 years that I've been here, probably the best relationship we've ever had with the city. and working with the city. And I think it's been a collaborative relationship, whether it's on the South Campus, whether it's on transportation issues. One of the things that we do with the city is each quarter, the university, the city, the county, and the school district get together. And we have the superintendent, county commissioner, mayor, members of city council, my staff, to talk about issues and how we can learn from each other. For example, we've had a session, a very, I think, helpful session on diversity and inclusive excellence. We have issues, as I said, dealing with transportation. We talk about the conference center and also South Boulder. So I believe that there's more dialogue right now going on between the university, the city, the county, and the school district than ever before.
That's great to hear. What about space on campus? Is there any updates on how we're going to manage or use our space?
Well, the space utilization study, there certainly will be recommendations from that. You know, we're looking, and Dave Kang has his team working on the sustainability piece. We are doing some new construction out on the East Campus. We'll be breaking ground within the next week or two on the new aerospace building. But I think what our focus will be is really how to utilize the space that we have. And Dave and his team, with our new sustainability director, have been charged to do that. So we're not going to see as much growth as we've seen probably in the last 5 to 7 years. We're going to see some growth, obviously, with aerospace, with music, College of Music renovation, with the business school extension structure. But I don't think we're going to see much new space, new buildings after that, and really focus on the space that we have and make sure that we're utilizing it efficiently and effectively.
Good. One question about the employee tuition benefit. Less than 4% of staff actually use their employee tuition benefit. What barriers do you think are preventing that number from being higher?
Well, from what I've heard from staff, and again, this is again, you know, through my meetings with them, it's been registration has been one issue, of especially for staff members who are getting a degree, that they've had some difficulty with registration, and that's something that Christy and we and I have talked about through the registrar's office about how can we work more closely with staff. So that has been one issue. I've heard many staff members say that it took them X number, 6 to 8 years to finish a degree because they couldn't get the classes that they needed. I want to make sure that as our staff members are moving forward to getting, whether it's a bachelor's degree or an advanced degree, that they have the opportunity to take courses at a time that they can do that. And it's also helpful to have our supervisors in the various units supportive of our staff taking courses.
Great. The staff council will help you out on that endeavor.
Great.
And our final question, because we're about out of time, is about the gender pay gap on campus. What do you think we could do to shrink the gender pay gap, especially in male-dominated departments such as athletics, computer science?
Well, one of the things that we do on the academic front, and it's out of the provost office, out of Russ's office, through Senior Vice Provost Bill Kempfer, is each year we do a gender equity study for our faculty. And we've been doing that for probably 8 to 10 years now to see where we need to make adjustments. I'm not sure, to be honest, what we're doing with staff, but I think that could be something that Catherine and Catherine Irwin and Kelly Fox and I can talk about, to take a look at staff salaries. But again, I think it's worked very well for our faculty.
Great. Well, that concludes our program. Thank you, Chancellor.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all.